The brake pedal went straight to the floor. I was driving down Pine Ridge Mountain, the same route I'd taken twice weekly for 30 years, when my foot pressed down and met no resistance. My car picked up speed on the winding descent. 70 miles per hour. 80. The steering wheel shook violently in my hands as I approached the sharp turn at Devil's Bend. I yanked the emergency brake. Nothing happened. I downshifted, grinding the gears, feeling the engine scream in protest. The guardrail rushed toward me. At the last second, I swerved into the runaway truck ramp, my car bouncing violently over the gravel incline until it finally stopped. My hands were shaking as I sat there, my heart pounding against my ribs. Through my rearview mirror, I saw another car slow down at the top of the hill, pause for a moment, then speed away. I couldn't make out the license plate, but something about that hesitation made my blood run cold. My name is Catherine Holloway, though everyone calls me Kathy. I'm 72 years old, and until that moment on Pine Ridge Mountain, I had considered myself blessed. My late husband, Frank, had built a successful chain of hardware stores across 3 states before he passed 5 years ago. He left me comfortable, very comfortable. $7 million comfortable. I had 3 grandchildren, Austin, 28, who worked in finance in the city, Brianna, 25, a real estate agent, and Kyle, 23, who was supposedly finishing his business degree. I'd helped raise them after their mother, my daughter Claire, died in a car accident when they were young. Their father had remarried and moved to Europe, leaving me to step in. I thought we were close. I thought they loved me. I was about to learn how wrong I could be. The mechanic's report came back 3 days after the incident. I'd had my car towed to Preston's auto shop, where Earl Preston had been servicing my vehicles for 20 years. He called me into his office with an expression I'd never seen on his weathered face before. "Mrs. Holloway," he said quietly, closing the door behind us. "Your brake lines were cut, clean through, and someone tampered with your emergency brake cable." The room seemed to tilt. "Are you certain?" Earl nodded grimly, showing me photos he'd taken. "This wasn't wear and tear or an accident. Someone did this deliberately. I've already called the police." I sat down heavily in the chair across from his desk. Who would want me dead? I lived quietly, had no enemies, donated regularly to local charities. Then I remembered that car pausing at the top of the hill, watching to see if I'd crash. "Mrs. Holloway, is there anyone who might benefit from your death?" Earl asked gently. My grandchildren's faces flashed through my mind, but I pushed the thought away. Not them. It couldn't be them. Detective Roy Hanson arrived at my house that evening. He was in his 50s, with sharp gray eyes that seemed to miss nothing. I made tea while he set up a recorder on my kitchen table. "Walk me through your routine, Mrs. Holloway," he said. "Who has access to your garage?" I explained that my car was always parked in my attached garage. The door was kept locked, but I'd given keys to Austin, Brianna, and Kyle for emergencies. They each had a spare key to my house as well. "When did you last see each of your grandchildren?" Detective Hanson asked. "Austin and Brianna came for dinner 3 nights ago," I replied. "The night before the incident. Kyle was supposed to come but canceled at the last minute." The detective made notes. "And where was your car that night?" "In the garage, like always." My stomach twisted as I realized what he was implying. "Detective, surely you don't think my grandchildren would." "I'm not thinking anything yet, Mrs. Holloway. I'm just gathering facts." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the dinner from 3 nights ago. Austin had asked pointed questions about my will. Brianna had seemed nervous, checking her phone constantly. They'd both stayed late, insisting on cleaning up while I went upstairs to bed early with a headache. They'd had access to the garage. They'd had opportunity. But motive? I'd always been generous with them. Austin drove a BMW I'd helped him buy. Brianna's real estate startup had been funded largely by my gifts. Kyle's college tuition, his apartment, his lifestyle, all supported by my money. Unless generosity wasn't enough. Unless they wanted it all, and they wanted it now. I got out of bed and went to my study. Frank's old desk still held our important papers. I pulled out my will, reading through the provisions I'd made. The bulk of my estate, the $7 million, was split equally among Austin, Brianna, and Kyle. They each also received significant annual gifts that I'd been giving them for years. What if they were tired of waiting? The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed security cameras around my property. The technician, a young woman named Isabel, was professional and discreet. Cameras went up covering my driveway, garage entrances, and all doors to the house. "You can monitor everything from your phone," Isabel explained, showing me the app. "Motion detection will send you alerts. The footage is stored in the cloud, so even if something happens to the cameras, the recordings are safe." After she left, I sat in my living room, staring at my phone screen showing 4 different camera angles. I felt like a stranger in my own home, suspicious and afraid. My phone rang. It was Austin. "Grandma, I heard about your car accident. Are you okay?" "How did you hear about that?" I asked carefully. "Small town," he said smoothly. "Earl Preston's sister works at the bank with Brianna. Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," I replied, watching his tone for any hint of concern or guilt. I heard nothing but normal worry. "Just shaken up." "I'm coming over tomorrow," Austin said. "We need to talk about your safety." Austin arrived the next afternoon in his BMW, dressed in an expensive suit. He hugged me tightly, and for a moment I wanted to believe I'd been wrong about everything. This was my grandson, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, whose scraped knees I'd bandaged. "Grandma, you can't keep driving," he said, settling onto my couch. "Not at your age, that accident could have killed you." "The police think it wasn't an accident," I said, watching his face carefully. His expression didn't change. "What do you mean?" "Someone cut my brake lines." Now he looked shocked. "That's insane. Who would do that?" I didn't answer. Instead, I asked, "Austin, are you having money problems?" His jaw tightened. "Why would you ask that?" "Just answer the question." He stood up, packing to the window. "I made some bad investments. Nothing I can't handle. But Grandma, if you're implying that I would hurt you for money." "I'm not implying anything. I'm asking directly." "No," he said, turning to face me. "I would never hurt you. Never." After Austin left, I checked the security footage from the night my car was sabotaged. I fast-forwarded through hours of empty driveway and garage until I saw movement. At 1:47 a.m., a figure in dark clothing and a ski mask approached my garage. They used a key to open the side door and disappeared inside for 17 minutes. When they emerged, they looked directly at the camera I'd had installed, except the cameras hadn't been there that night. This was footage from the past few days. Someone had come back. I called Detective Hanson immediately. Someone just tried to access my garage again. Did they get in? No, the new locks held. But Detective, they used a key. It didn't work because I changed the locks yesterday, but they definitely had a key. "I'm sending a patrol car over. Don't go outside." I watched through my window as a police cruiser pulled up 20 minutes later. The officers searched my property but found no one. The figure had vanished into the night. The next morning, Brianna called. "Grandma, Austin told me what happened with your car. I'm so sorry. Can I come visit?" "Of course, sweetheart." She arrived an hour later, looking polished as always in her real estate agent outfit. But her hands shook as she poured herself coffee. "Grandma, I need to tell you something," she said, sitting across from me at the kitchen table. "Kyle is in trouble, bad trouble." "What kind of trouble?" "Gambling debts. He owes someone $60,000 and they've been threatening him. He's desperate." My heart sank. Why didn't he come to me? "Because you've already given him so much, and he was ashamed." Brianna met my eyes. "Grandma, I don't know how to say this, but Kyle asked me about your will last week. He wanted to know when he'd get his inheritance." "What did you tell him?" "I told him it was morbid to think about, but Grandma," she hesitated, "what if Kyle did something terrible?" After Brianna left, I felt sick. Kyle, my youngest grandchild, the boy who used to fall asleep in my lap during family movie nights, could he really have tried to kill me? I called Detective Hanson again and told him about Kyle's gambling debts. I need you to find out who he owes money to and how desperate the situation really is. Mrs. Holloway, I have to ask, is it possible your granddaughter is deflecting suspicion from herself? Maybe she's the one in financial trouble. I hadn't considered that. Can you check her finances too? Already on it. And Austin's. Mrs. Holloway, I'm going to be direct with you. All 3 of your grandchildren have financial problems. Austin's investment losses total over $200,000. Brianna's real estate business is failing. She hasn't closed a sale in 4 months and is behind on her office rent. And Kyle's gambling debts are actually closer to $90,000, not $60,000. So they're all desperate. Desperate enough to kill. That's what we need to figure out. That night, I made a decision. I called my attorney, Ronald Sterling, and told him I needed to change my will immediately. He agreed to come to my house the next morning with new documents. But I didn't just want to change my will. I wanted to set a trap. I called Austin, Brianna, and Kyle, asking them all to come for dinner that Friday night. I have something important to discuss with all of you, I said to each of them. It's about my will and your inheritance. They all agreed to come. I could hear the eagerness in their voices, and it made my heart ache. Were they excited about the possibility of my death being closer, or were they simply interested in financial planning? Ronald arrived the next morning with a briefcase full of documents. We spent 3 hours revising everything. The new will was strategic. Some might say it was a trap. After Ronald left, I placed a copy prominently on my desk where anyone entering my study would see it. Then I waited. Friday arrived. I spent the day cooking all of my grandchildren's favorite foods: lasagna, garlic bread, Caesar salad, and chocolate cake. The house smelled wonderful, just like it used to during family gatherings when Frank was alive and the kids were young. Austin arrived first, bringing expensive wine. Brianna came next with flowers. Kyle was last, looking haggard and stressed. Under the dining room table, I'd placed a small recording device that Detective Hanson had given me. He'd also stationed 2 officers in an unmarked car down the street, ready to respond if needed. "Thank you all for coming," I said as we settled around the table. "I know you've all been worried about me since the incident with my car." "We love you, Grandma," Brianna said, reaching for my hand. "We just want you to be safe." That's actually what I wanted to discuss. I've been thinking about mortality lately, and I've made some changes to my estate planning. The atmosphere in the room shifted subtly. All 3 grandchildren leaned forward slightly. "I've decided to establish a trust," I continued, watching their faces. "The money will be distributed in stages when each of you reaches certain ages, 30, 35, and 40. That way, you'll have support throughout your lives, not just one lump sum." Kyle's face fell. "But Grandma, what if we need money before then? What if there's an emergency?" "Then we'll discuss it," I said calmly. "The trust has provisions for legitimate emergencies." Austin's jaw was tight. "Grandma, with all due respect, we're adults. We should have access to our inheritance without conditions." "It's my money, Austin. I can distribute it however I see fit." "Of course," Brianna said quickly, shooting Austin a warning look. "We appreciate anything you choose to give us. It's just that, well, some of us have more immediate needs." "Like $90,000 in gambling debts?" I asked, looking at Kyle. The room went silent. Kyle's face turned white. "How did you?" "I know everything," I said quietly. "About Kyle's debts, Brianna's failing business, Austin's investment losses. I know you're all in financial trouble." Austin stood up abruptly. "So what? You think one of us tried to kill you because we need money?" "Did you?" I asked directly. "No," all 3 of them said at once. "Then you won't mind that I've given the police permission to examine your financial records and phone logs," I said. "They're looking for any connection to the person who sabotaged my car." Brianna started crying. "Grandma, I can't believe you'd suspect us. We love you." "I loved you too," I said, using past tense deliberately. "I loved you enough to give you everything. But someone tried to murder me, and that person had a key to my garage. Only 3 people have those keys." Kyle's hands were shaking. "It wasn't me. I swear it wasn't me." "Then who was it?" I demanded. None of them answered. They looked at each other with a mixture of suspicion and fear. If they were all innocent. One of them had to be lying. If they were all guilty, they were accomplices in attempted murder. The dinner ended badly. Austin left first, slamming the door. Brianna tried to hug me, but I stepped back. Kyle lingered, wanting to say something, but finally left without speaking. After they were gone, I retrieved the recording device and sent the audio file to Detective Hanson. Then I sat in my living room, feeling utterly alone. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop investigating or the next accident will work." I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Detective Hanson. His response came immediately. "Don't respond, we're tracing it." That night I barely slept. Every sound made me jump. I kept the security camera app open on my phone, watching the feeds obsessively. At 2:15 a.m., motion detection alerted me. Someone was approaching my back door. I grabbed my phone and called 911, whispering my address and situation. Through the camera, I watched a figure in dark clothing try the door handle. When it didn't open, they moved to a window, trying to pry it open. Police sirens filled the night. The figure ran, disappearing into the woods behind my house. The police arrived within 4 minutes, but the intruder was gone. They searched my property and the surrounding woods with flashlights and a K9 unit. They found a crowbar dropped near my back fence and a ski mask caught on a tree branch. Detective Hanson arrived 30 minutes later, even though it was the middle of the night. "Mrs. Holloway, they're escalating. You're not safe here." "Where am I supposed to go?" "We have a safe house, just for a few days while we wrap up the investigation." "You know who it is, don't you?" He hesitated. "We have strong suspicions based on the phone records and financial trails, but I need solid evidence before I can make an arrest. Mrs. Holloway, the person who threatened you sent that text from a burner phone, but we tracked where it was purchased. The credit card used belongs to Austin." My heart broke. "You're sure?" "The transaction was 3 days ago at a convenience store downtown. We have him on security footage buying the phone." "But that doesn't prove he sent the message or tried to break in tonight," I said, grasping at hope. "No, but it's one piece of a larger puzzle." I packed a bag and left with Detective Hanson. The safe house was a small apartment across town, guarded by a police officer named Troy. It was clean but impersonal, and I felt like a prisoner even though I was supposedly being protected. For 2 days, I stayed hidden while the police gathered evidence. Detective Hanson visited daily with updates. They'd found mud on Austin's shoes that matched the soil composition in my backyard. Security footage from a gas station near my house showed his BMW driving past at 2:00 a.m. on the night of the break-in attempt. "We're close," Detective Hanson said, "but I want you to help us catch him in the act." "How?" He explained his plan. I would return home and send a text to all 3 grandchildren saying I was going to change my will again, this time leaving everything to charity. The text would claim I was meeting with my attorney that evening to finalize the documents. "If Austin is our suspect, he'll make one last desperate move," Detective Hanson said, "and we'll be waiting." I returned home that afternoon, my stomach churning with anxiety. The house felt different, tainted by betrayal and violence. I sent the text message to Austin, Brianna, and Kyle at exactly 5:00 p.m. "I've decided to leave my entire estate to the children's hospital and the animal shelter. You've all shown me that money corrupts relationships. I'm meeting with my attorney at 8 p.m. tonight to finalize everything. I'm sorry, but this is my final decision." The responses came quickly. Brianna, "Grandma, please don't do this. We love you." Kyle, "You're upset, I understand. Can we talk about this?" Austin, "Read receipt but no response." Detective Hanson and 3 officers were hidden throughout my house. I sat in my study, pretending to review documents, waiting for something to happen. At 7:45 p.m., I heard a key in the front door. My security camera showed Austin entering quietly, looking around nervously. He didn't know the police were watching. Austin walked through the house, calling my name softly. "Grandma, are you home?" I stayed silent in my study as instructed. Through the crack in the door, I watched him head upstairs. He went directly to my bedroom, and I heard drawers opening. He was looking for something. Detective Hanson's voice suddenly filled the house. "Austin Holloway, this is the police. Come downstairs with your hands visible." I heard Austin curse, then his footsteps pounded down the stairs. But instead of surrendering, he ran toward the back door. 2 officers were waiting there. They tackled him as he tried to escape, and within seconds, he was handcuffed on my kitchen floor. "You set me up," Austin screamed at me as I emerged from my study. "You manipulative old woman, that money is mine. I've waited my whole life for it." "You tried to kill me," I said quietly, my voice shaking. "Your own grandmother." "You were never going to die naturally. You're healthy as a horse. I needed that money now, not in 20 years. Detective Hanson read him his rights, while Austin continued shouting. They found a bottle of pills in his pocket, sleeping medication, enough to kill me if dissolved in my evening tea. After they took Austin away, I collapsed into a chair, shaking uncontrollably. Detective Hanson sat with me, patient and kind. "He planned to make it look like a heart attack or stroke," the detective explained. "The brake line cutting was supposed to look like an accident. When that failed, he was going to drug you tonight and stage a fall down the stairs." "What about Brianna and Kyle? Were they involved?" "We don't think so. Austin worked alone. He manipulated Brianna into telling you about Kyle's debts to deflect suspicion. Kyle's gambling problems are real, but he had nothing to do with the attempts on your life." I felt relief mixed with devastation. 1 grandson had tried to kill me, but 2 were innocent. It was small comfort. "What happens now?" I asked. "Austin will be charged with attempted murder, breaking and entering, and conspiracy to commit fraud. The evidence is overwhelming. He'll spend decades in prison." The next day, Brianna and Kyle came to see me. They were horrified when they learned the truth about Austin. Both of them cried, apologizing for their financial problems and for ever making me feel that my money mattered more than our relationships. I knew Kyle had gambling debts, but I never thought Austin would. Brianna couldn't finish the sentence. Kyle looked destroyed. "Grandma, I'm so sorry. I'll get help for my gambling. I'll pay back every cent you ever gave me. I don't want your money, I just want you." I hugged them both, feeling the first genuine warmth I'd experienced in weeks. These 2 were truly my grandchildren. Austin had been someone else entirely, someone I'd failed to recognize. "We'll figure out your problems together," I told them. "But honestly, no more secrets." They both agreed. We spent the afternoon talking openly about money, expectations, and family. It was painful but necessary. For the first time, I understood how my wealth had created pressure and false expectations. 3 weeks after Austin's arrest, I made another change to my will. I met with Ronald Sterling in his office, and this time, Brianna and Kyle came with me. "I want you both to understand what I'm doing," I said. "I'm not leaving you penniless, but I'm also not leaving you $7 million to fight over." I explained the new structure. Each of them would receive $200,000 immediately, enough to solve their current financial problems. The rest would go into a charitable foundation in Frank's name, supporting local businesses and families in need. Brianna and Kyle would serve on the foundation's board, learning to manage money responsibly while helping others. "The foundation will pay you both salaries for your work," I continued. "Good salaries, but you'll earn them by making a difference in people's lives, not just by being related to me." Kyle wiped his eyes. "That's perfect, Grandma. Dad would have loved that." Brianna nodded. "We don't deserve your generosity after everything that's happened." "You deserve a chance to prove who you really are," I replied. "That's what I'm giving you." Austin's trial took place 6 months later. I testified about the brake line incident, the threatening text messages, and the final confrontation in my home. Austin showed no remorse, glaring at me from the defense table as if I had wronged him. His lawyer tried to argue that Austin had been under financial stress and had acted desperately, not maliciously. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before finding him guilty on all charges. The judge sentenced him to 25 years in prison. As they led him away, Austin finally looked at me with something other than anger. For just a moment, I saw the little boy I'd raised, confused, lost, and full of regret. But it was too late for apologies. I left the courthouse with Brianna and Kyle on either side of me. We didn't speak during the drive home. There was nothing left to say about Austin. He'd made his choices, and now he would live with the consequences. 1 year after the incident on Pine Ridge Mountain, I stood in the community center with Brianna and Kyle, watching as the Frank Holloway Foundation awarded its first round of grants. We'd helped 12 local businesses expand, funded college scholarships for 6 students, and provided emergency assistance to 20 families facing hardship. "Your grandfather would be so proud," I told my grandchildren as we watched the grateful recipients accept their awards. Brianna had thrown herself into the foundation's work, using her real estate skills to help struggling businesses find affordable locations. Kyle had discovered a talent for financial counseling, helping people avoid the gambling traps he'd fallen into. Both of them had found purpose beyond money. "We're proud of you too, Grandma," Brianna said, hugging me. "You turned something horrible into something beautiful." I thought about Austin, sitting in prison, probably still bitter about the inheritance he'd lost. He'd wanted $7 million and had been willing to kill for it. Instead, he got nothing but decades behind bars. Meanwhile, I still had my life, my home, and 2 grandchildren who'd learned what truly mattered. I'm 73 now, a year older than when someone tried to murder me for my money. I still drive down Pine Ridge Mountain twice a week, though I have my car inspected regularly and keep my security system active. The fear has faded, replaced by a cautious awareness. I visit the foundation office every Tuesday, watching Brianna and Kyle work with people who need help. Sometimes I see families who remind me of us, complex, flawed, struggling with money and expectations. I hope they learn the lesson my family learned the hard way. Money doesn't buy love or loyalty. It only reveals who people really are. Austin writes me letters from prison occasionally. I don't respond, but I read them. He's starting to understand what he threw away, not $7 million, but a family who loved him. Maybe someday I'll visit him. Maybe someday I'll forgive him, but not yet. For now, I focus on Brianna and Kyle, on the foundation, and on living my life fully. I survived attempted murder, and I turned that experience into something meaningful. Frank would have approved. The money he left behind is doing exactly what he would have wanted, helping people, building futures, creating opportunities. And I'm still here to see it happen, which is the greatest gift of all.